Dude loved purple. What? Are you serious? This is a published author. Hello, everybody. It is Nova. I am back. I was gone for over a month, just kind of unexpectedly. Did not announce that anywhere or anything. I just needed a tiny break. I have had so much stuff going on in my personal life. I've been out of town a couple times recently. I'm starting school again in a couple weeks, so there's been a lot going on with that. So I was just really not feeling the drive to make videos for April. I think April, my April wrap up would have been the one that I missed. And part of that is because I was kind of in a reading slump for April as well. So I was in a bit of a reading slump. I knew I had a rant review that I wanted to do, which is coming. I'm gonna get that out this month, I think. I've had a lot of crazy life changes and it's been a lot. So for my own sake and my partner and everything, we just kind of took a break. But I am back with a little wrap up for you guys, just a May wrap up. I thought about throwing in the April books as well, because there was a lot less of them. But to be honest, it was not a great month. It was just not a great month. So the singular book that I want to shout out from that month was, I finally read Brutes by Diz Tate. And if you know what that is, it's got a lot of hot girl book girlies buzzing online. It's definitely in that category of book, I would say. And I liked it. I thought it was really good. It's just a magical realism story about girlhood and a group of girls and what happens when another girl in their community goes missing. It's written in a very interesting format. I thought was really cool. It does have dark themes though, I would say. So just be aware of that if it's something that's interesting to you. But that is literally the only book that is noteworthy in a positive way from April. So I just wanted to give a little shout out for that one. And yeah, I think we just jump into these books. I only have notes for about half of them because I was writing the notes today. So we'll see how I do with just kind of telling you. I don't think I'm gonna be very good at that, but let's find out. So the first book that I read in May was the second book in the Shady Hollow series, and this one was called Cold Clay. That's written by Juno Black, which is actually, it's written by two women, and that's kind of the name that they write under, which I think is pretty cool. I've talked about the first book before, but this is think Fantastic Mr. Fox. It's animal people living in this little cozy town, Shady Hollow, and it's just cozy mysteries, basically. This one I found a lot more predictable as far as the mystery goes, but I still this is something that you really read for the setting and the vibes in the setting were still immaculate. So I would still recommend it. And I think this series is cool because it's ongoing still. And they also put out little short stories and novellas and stuff. So there's the main books of the series, but they also have these little random things sprinkled throughout. So I just think it's a cool world to get lost in, I guess, if that's, something you're looking for. I do think it's very fall vibes though. So if you're a seasonal reader like I am, I would push it off to fall. The second book that I read, I listened to on the way to Boston, and my partner listened to the ending with me and was just as flabbergasted as I was. But that was The Clinic by Kate Quinn. Genuinely, for my own well-being, for my own peace of mind, I don't want to talk about this book very much. There's so much that you could say and unpack here. Wow, it was wild. I think that it's wonderful that this is the first book that the author has written sober. I think that's awesome. I think that it's cool to try to write a thriller revolving around a rehab facility when you kind of have that inside experience. I think that's all great. I can't believe that the direction that this book took even like was published, I guess I would just say. It's about a woman whose sister dies at this like very fancy pants rehab facility, and so she goes in undercover to try to figure out what happened. That is literally like, that's the whole plot. Nothing happens for almost this entire book, like truly nothing, until all of a sudden we just get this like big explosive ending of like all these things are happening. The twist is really what I want to talk about, and it is like the big spoiler. So if you don't want to hear this spoiler, definitely skip ahead, because that is what I want to hone in on. The twist is that like the one doctor there is like a psychopath, like clinically, like medically, like is a psychopath, and so is she. She's a sociopath because of her brain scans, and they're like evil and like all this stuff, and like that is not how that works. Like that, like it is such an outdated like stereotype of what any of that means. So for the fact that like a book is being published in 2024 perpetuating this just absolute like misinformation was extremely frustrating to me, and just was very bizarre to listen to. And like at the end, she's talking about how like she's finding peace with the fact that like she's a sociopath, and like everyone's so scared of her because she's a sociopath, and like she wants to like go to therapy, but like a lot of therapists, when they hear that you're a sociopath, like they just turn you away because they're so scared of you. And I'm like, girl, can we be it's not like this magical world where like you're like being a sociopath or a psychopath is even that much of a like diagnosable thing, and it makes you like inherently evil or something, and everyone is scared of you. Like that's such a harmful thing to put in a book and act like that's really how any of this stuff works, right? I did not like that at all. So I do not recommend. I think I gave that book maybe 2 stars. It probably deserves like 1.5, to be honest. Should I start doing that? Question. Should I start doing that? Because I don't like the Goodreads rating system, but I feel like in my videos, like, should I start saying like what I rated them star-wise? I just don't know. I feel like it's hard to quantify with stars, especially just like out of 5. So I feel like it's kind of a useless thing to put in, but maybe, I don't know, maybe somebody would like that. So I don't know. Let me know. Oh, after I read Fish Swimming in Dappled Sunlight by Riku Anda, I literally just saw Rachel Reads with Rachel. I saw her like video about it on Instagram. I was driving home from Boston, and I was like, I'm gonna read this on this drive. Like, I have to read this because it's just like a psychological thriller, and I thought it's like short, and I thought it would like keep me engaged, and it definitely did. It's just about these 2 people who are moving out of this apartment where they've lived together for a certain amount of time, and we start figuring out like, you know, what their relationship is to each other, and then they're also like unpacking this like event, like this thing that happened to them like I think the previous summer. It's good. I think the translation at times is a little bit clunky. Just reading it in English, sometimes it's a little bit like off, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. It was engaging. It definitely, I feel like it's good for something like a long car ride or a plane ride or something like that. It wasn't like 5 stars, literary genius, like blow it out of the park or anything, but I feel like blow it out of the park? Wouldn't it be like blow it out of the water or like hit it out of the park? I'm definitely mixing analogies, but it's fine. You understand what I'm saying. Ooh, after that, I listened to Funny Story by Emily Henry. This is my second Emily Henry book. I've only read Happy Place, which I feel like Happy Place had very like mixed reviews as far as people who've read her other books. I liked Happy Place. I gave it like 4 stars, which for me is like a solid book. And it was like my first one by her. This one though, easy 5 stars. One of the best books I've read this year. Easy 5 stars. I liked it a lot, and I don't like romance, so that's like a high accolade like coming from me, because I don't read romance. I don't even particularly like it in my other books. Like, it's not something I'm super interested in. So the fact that I like her books as much as I do is really a testament to how good like her writing is and her character writing. And this one was just so good. The premise is like insane. It's like this woman is about to get married and her husband leaves her for his girl best friend who's like living with and dating like her boyfriend. And so the girl that gets left moves in with the guy that gets left, and they just like fall in love. And it's so good. I loved it. Absolutely, like chef's kiss, like 5 out of 5. Absolutely. Oh, after that, I read a really cool science fiction book. It's called Ghost Station by S.A. Barnes. I also believe it like just came out this year. I've been reading a lot of new releases this year, but it was just really solid. It's science fiction. It's like about space, and it was solid, honestly. It's basically a future where we have a lot of like intergalactic like travel, and like people live on different planets, and we go explore different planets and everything. But all the shots are called by like kind of a few big monopoly, like big corporations, basically. And I just thought that aspect of it was really interesting. Just kind of that, like the future of capitalism, basically, where like it's like Amazon, but like on a way like more intense scale of these, you know, these businesses that are so influential that like they're the ones calling the shots, and they don't care about the people, like they care about the numbers, and they care about like winning and like getting to the next planet. And I don't know, just that commentary in this book I thought was really good, because it wasn't too heavy-handed, but it was still like interesting to think about like, oh, what would capitalism look like on this like large galactic scale, like in the future when if we can ever travel like that to different planets, like what would that look like? But more specifically, it's about a therapist who goes with a team to a planet because one of their teammates on their last mission died. And she's supposed to go and kind of check on them, and there's all this tension about that for other like various reasons. But basically they just get to this planet and some crazy stuff goes down, and that's like really all it is. And I love that kind of plot. So I thought it was really good. Sometimes I do think it seems like she's trying really hard to make the main character sound like a therapist with information that's pretty like basic, I feel like. So like, I don't know, that you have to take with a grain of salt, I feel like, but it was really good. And honestly, I hate this kind of book because it creates such a cool world that you could take in so many different directions and create so many different stories just from this like one world. And it's like this book is just like a snapshot, and I feel it could be like this huge thing. And I end books like this and I just like want more of it. But this was very good. This is like one of my favorite books of this year, to be honest. So I would highly recommend. After that, I read Fruit of the Dead by Rachel Leon. I feel like this is getting kind of some hype online as another like hot girl book. One, because it's a retelling of like Hades and Persephone, which I feel like a lot of people are just super into that. So there's that. And then also like the cover is just really beautiful. It's very much, I would definitely put it in the same category as something like Brutes, personally. I think it's a similar kind of vibe. And I've heard a lot of people say that this book is just like a fever dream, and I think that that's a great way to describe it, but like really in a positive way. Very briefly, because it's really not a plot-driven book, it's about a girl who's a camp counselor who has kind of a toxic relationship with her mother, and a parent of one of her campers who's a very influential businessman kind of preys on her and wants her to come like live with them at his like very secluded mansion and like be like their nanny for a couple months. And she goes, and it's her like, you know, being a nanny, but also like, you know, she's taking this drug that he's like a proponent of, and like one of the like original like distributors of or something. I don't know like the language you'd use to talk about that, but so it's about like control. It's about like an imbalance in like the power dynamic, like that kind of conversation. And the other half of this book is basically like her mom trying to come find her and like rescue her, essentially. And I just thought it was good. It was really solid. It's not my cup of tea necessarily. So I think that like there definitely is an audience that would love this book. And if you are that person, absolutely like go for it, like this, because it is good. Okay, this next book is actually the last one that I have like actual physical notes on. So it's about to get real interesting after this one. But Oh, this was a big disappointment for me, and I forgot that I even like read this and like had to talk about it. But The Warm Hands of Ghosts by Catherine Arden. I was really excited for this book, and truly maybe like my biggest disappointment of this year so far, because I really genuinely expected to like it, like actively like it. For context about me, I love ghost stories and I love wartime novels. So a ghosty wartime novel? Right? Like you'd think like I would love it, but I did not. I was so bored. I was so bored. It's so long. It's really long. It's way too long, to be honest. And I just felt like I was waiting and waiting and waiting for it to get interesting, for something to happen. The like ghost element of this book is actually quite minimal, I would say. Just let's note that it's not really that much of a ghosty book. The ghost element gets introduced like 38% into the book, or like something ridiculous like that. And yeah, it was such a miss for me. So it's like a dual POV. Like I said, it's like a wartime novel, and it's about like this girl who's a nurse, woman who's a nurse, and she's trying to figure out what happened to her brother, who just kind of like disappeared. And it's a dual POV, so we're getting her POV, but we're also getting like the brothers and like what's happening to him like during this war and everything. And I understand people are saying like the language and like the writing in this book was so good. I didn't really feel that, but maybe just because I was so bored that I was just like, can we like get on with it, kind of. I guess maybe I wasn't like paying that much attention to the writing, which maybe that's just a me thing. Yeah, and then like to be honest, I read I think 75% of it, and I was so bored that I actually like skipped to the end in the audiobook. I just skipped to the end and listened to the end. And then kind of filled in the blanks, like reading reviews of like what actually like went down. It's weird because I just like, as somebody who loves both of the things that this book was supposed to be, I would just say like, I can't recommend this book. Like if you like these things, I really can't recommend this book, because it was just boring. I was shocked at how boring she managed to make it. And I don't know. That's really all I have to say. I don't want to go too hard. Oh, okay. So, this next book, I kind of have to like address something like actually very serious. I read the majority of this book actually like over a month ago, and then I had to wait to like get my hold on it again. And I had just a couple chapters left. Let me say what it is. It's a long title, so I'm just going to read it to you. All in Her Head, the Truth and Lies Early Medicine Taught Us About Women's Bodies and Why It Matters Today. And it's written by Elizabeth Coman, who is a like breast cancer doctor. I'm really like, this is like actually like a very like tonal shift, because it's like a serious thing that I feel like I have to like mention. And it's hard, and I'm gonna tell you why. So I get the book again. I read the last few chapters and probably rushed them a little bit too much, because I finished the book and I go, wow, so good, great, 5 stars immediately, slay the boots, I loved it. I go rate it 5 stars, and everything. And then I had an idea for another video, and so I went to the reviews of this book, and I was looking at like some like bad reviews and stuff, and I'm seeing these reviews that are saying like, whoa, like blatant transphobia that comes out of nowhere. And I'm like, what? Like, did I just miss that? Did I not read that part? Like what, like, how would I not have noticed that? Like, just as like somebody who is just like very close to those like kinds of issues and everything, and who cares about them a lot, I was like shocked at myself that I like overlooked something, even to the point where I was like, are they just like taking something out of context, or like what is going on, right? But I felt like I had to do my due diligence, because I'm like saying this book is great and it's 5 stars, so I actually, when I bought the ebook, because it was like $2, from the different reviews, I gathered that it was, surprise, surprise, in the like hormone section of the book. And so I went back and I read that entire chapter again. I remembered her talking about trans people, obviously, because like hormone therapy, HRT, is a big conversation today. And she says that in the book, like this, you know, this conversation about HRT has shifted very much into being about trans issues and trans people and people who want to go on hormone therapy, right? And that's in the mainstream news. That's mostly what we hear about it, and it's a very fraught conversation here in America. And she mentions that, and I think, you know, that's great. And so I'm reading this whole part, and she goes into that, and I'm reading it. She puts in a quote from Dylan Mulvaney that was kind of like in a negative light, and it was a quote that's not great from Dylan about how, you know, kind of reducing girlhood to like crying and like stuff like that, right? And I have to, like, I'm reading this all, and I'm like, I'm with her. Like, I understand what she's saying. Like, I don't think any of this is too bad, I suppose. She does like refer to trans men as female transgender patients who take testosterone. And I was like talking about it with my partner, and I was like, yeah, that's probably not the language that should be used about that. Like, it definitely, like, some people are saying like, well, that's just like misgendering. And I think like, yeah, like you probably could have said that better. And I understand like you're a doctor and maybe like that's how you like think of it or like talk about it with like, but you know what I mean? Like, you're writing a book and you're addressing this thing, like maybe use like the correct language. But then like out of nowhere, there's just this paragraph where, to sum it up, and like trigger warning, transphobia, because she literally goes, I just can't help but think maybe there wouldn't be so many female transgender patients if they didn't have we didn't have societally such a negative view of womanhood. Maybe they wouldn't want to go on testosterone. And I was like, girl, are you for real right now? Like, it pisses me off, because in this book where you are fighting for women to be seen as valid in the medical world and for women's issues to be seen as valid, how could you then, in one paragraph that you didn't need to say, because it was just an opinion, you just threw in a random opinion. There's no, in this entire book of all this like stats and these quotes from real doctors, how are you then going to just inject your opinion about a conversation that you yourself said is very fraught? Why would you do that? Because one, it does not lend to the validity of your book as a whole, because you have people reading that and going, oh my God, and going on Goodreads and rating your book 2 stars, right? 2, you're fighting for women to be seen as valid, but then all of a sudden you're gonna invalidate a whole other group of people just because you don't get why they would make that kind of choice? Why would you do that? That's crazy. That's so crazy to be here saying you're fighting for women's rights and then actively questioning like somebody else's right to make a different choice? What is wrong with you? Why would you say that? That's crazy. That's crazy. It is perpetuating very harmful ideas. I'm trying to reel myself in here. It's perpetuating harmful ideas. It was not in any way backed up by any studies or science or anything. It was just you saying something to inject your worldview into something that you didn't need to do that with. And it makes me really upset, because I then went on Goodreads and I'm like talking to my partner about this and everything, and I'm wrestling with how to rate this book now. Because can I genuinely in good faith sit here and say to you like that this book is worth like 0 just because of this like one singular paragraph? No, I can't do it, because there's so much useful and valuable information in her book, and like it makes me so mad that she really like ruined that with like a singular unnecessary paragraph. So can I say that this book is like worth nothing and like shouldn't be read? No, I can't do it. But I absolutely, on the flip side, have to call out, why would you say that? Why would you do that? I don't understand. It's extremely frustrating, and it's not helping the cause the way that you think that it is, apparently. And just, it makes me really upset, you know, for people who might be part of like those different demographics, like reading this book and like, or like, you know, trying to educate themselves, trying to be like an ally, like for women, and then to see that like it's not even like reciprocated, like, you know, like I don't know, just such harmful ideas, just so casually written into something that is supposed to be like a scientific and like well-researched like nonfiction book. Like, I don't know. I could probably go on just because it's upsetting, but I think I have to just like leave it there and leave you, my viewer, to read it, don't read it, like go see for yourself. Like, I don't know. I'm surprised I'm not seeing more people talk about it, I guess, is like also what, I guess I'll leave it there, is I'm surprised that like she is just like being praised for this book, and I have seen, other than a couple Goodreads reviews, nobody like calling this out, and that sucks, you know. But I think that's really all I can say, just as a random reviewer. Yeah, I don't know. I guess let me know what you think, because it was really hard for me just to figure out like how to like rate it, how to talk about it, how to anything, you know. So whatever. I'm gonna move on. I really only have a couple more. Wow, it's getting kind of dark out, so I apologize for that. It's kind of cloudy here today, so I'm not really getting like the sun that I usually do in here. But I really only have a couple more books to talk about, and so on a lighter note, I'm just gonna like move on to those. One of them is another one of my one of my favorite books this year, and that was Floating Hotel by Grace Curtis. This is kind of a cozy science fiction book. Cozy to an extent, because there is like some underlying intrigue and mystery going on as you get farther into the book. But this is basically in a future where there's this floating hotel, and it's just this beautiful, you know, big ship, and people come to stay on it, and it goes on this specific route, and we follow all these different characters, and each chapter is told from the perspective of a different character on the ship, which I thought was really cool and done really well. And yeah, just immaculate vibes, good writing. The plot was great because it's cozy, but then you do get this element that's a little more like intense of like something is not right here. Like there's like these spies on this ship, and like some stuff is going down like behind the scenes. And you just get to like unravel that while being in the atmosphere of like this, you know, bougie space hotel, right? I really liked it. This, again, I rated it 5 stars. This is easily one of my favorite books from this year. I just had no notes. No notes. Like, it was just so good, honestly. Very highly recommend this one. Ooh, another really good one. I read The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. I've seen so many people like talking about this already. It was so good. Oh my gosh, it was so good. I loved this. It's about a girl in the times of the Spanish Inquisition, and she is a Jew and has to like keep that secret, basically. But she is capable of magic, and I won't regale you with the whole, like all the little plot details, but she ends up going on to like this competition basically, and it's all this stuff. It's historical fiction done right, in my opinion. It is so like based in history, so I'm reading this and I'm learning about the Spanish Inquisition, but also just like enjoying this like really good, interesting plot as well. And I think historical fiction should have more history than not. So I was really happy with this. As I was reading it, I was kind of comparing it to a couple different things. I think it very much gives Lapvona vibes in the way that it's told, the way that it kind of bounces from character to character, as well as like the feel of it. It's very Lapvona to me in a good way. And then Also, it kind of reminded me of the Night Circus a little bit, just like with the magic and then the competition and everything. And there was something else that it reminded me of. I can't think of what it was, unfortunately, but all good things, like great parallels to other books that I love. So yeah, this is definitely getting hype, and I love that because it's so good. And she slayed. Once again, she slayed. Ooh, okay. After that, I read The Husbands by Holly Gramazio. I think this might have been a book of the month pick, or one of those big book businesses. That's where I saw it like advertised. But it's a very light science fiction kind of book about a woman who randomly comes home one night after a bachelorette party for her friend, and all of a sudden, husbands, like one husband at a time, starts coming out of the attic. And it's just, she's in this life that apparently she has with this random dude, and like things are different in her house, and like she can see on her phone like they've been together for 3 years, and like whatever. And then if she sends him back up into the attic, this weird electricity thing happens, and another husband will come down. Such an interesting premise, right? I was so intrigued by how that was going to be handled. Unfortunately, for me, the execution was the weakest part. I think that it just could have been done better. I think the biggest thing that would have like immediately fixed it, probably for me, is right when we enter the book, she's coming home and we're already getting introduced to the first husband. And I think that was not the most effective way to introduce the story, because if you had taken a couple chapters and given us an idea of who this person is and what her life looks like as a single person, I think it would have been much more jarring when all of a sudden she's, these men are coming out of this closet, and she has to like live this lifestyle with them and like change up her whole vibe, and like things are different in her house and like all of that. Like, I think it would have been much more effective to see who she was and how she liked to live, and then move it towards, well, now all of a sudden here's these husbands being dropped on her and she just has to cope, right? The other thing I would say that I think harmed it more than helped it was just that she seems very chill about it all. Actually, I want to say that. She seems like just very like, it just starts happening and she's like, okay. And I don't like that. I don't like that kind of writing. When characters are just, something insane happens and they're just like, this is my life now, right? I don't think it's super realistic. And then as well, it just gets a little repetitive because it starts immediately with the husbands, and then that's the entire book. And she takes it in different directions sometimes. Like sometimes there's different situations that go on and it kind of escalates at the end and everything. Like, I don't know. She did what she could with it, but I think it could have been done better because it definitely was repetitive by the end. The thing that I would say that makes me feel more positive about it than negative is I do think that the ending like really sold it. I think the ending was it was so cute and beautiful, and I just didn't know what direction she was going to take it, and I thought that she took it to a really effective place. So that's kind of what saved it for me. And I think I rated it like 3.5 stars. So I do like tentatively recommend. It's definitely not, like I've been saying, like it's not one of my favorites or anything, but it was pretty good, and it's just such an interesting idea, right? So yeah, that's that one, The Husbands. Wow, we really only got a couple more. I'm gonna try to power through these. I don't have a lot to say about the next one. It was really bad. It's called Bad Men by Julie May Cohen. It's about a woman who is a serial killer. She kills bad men who are predators, men who are violent, men who are bad men. She kills them. And then there's this podcast host who she's obsessed with, and he stops doing his podcast stuff because he also had like a crazy experience with a serial killer. She basically manipulates him into having this like friendship with her and everything because he doesn't know that she like is obsessed with him, right? And just for a book that was supposed to be like a feminist, like a campy feminist icon serial killer who kills like evil men, it really was just her trying to get him to fall in love with her the whole time. It was so wrapped up in her talking about him And then like her sister's a character, and her sister talking about her boyfriend. And, oh, I don't like her boyfriend, and I just like him. And it's like literally somebody in the reviews on Goodreads said the funniest thing. She was like, I literally don't think that this book even passes the Bechdel test. And I was like, oh my gosh, no, like really, like actually, like they just talk about these guys that they like the whole time. Like any scenes that we get, and like, I don't know, it just sucked, honestly. Like it was just bad. And I like listened to it, so I just like continued it. It wasn't like super long. But wow, just like, I don't understand. And it, like this remains true with other things. I don't understand how something can be like marketed as like this like feminist thing, and then it's garbage. Like it's not even like, it's not feminism. I don't know what you thought you were doing here, but it's just bad. And I don't understand how that continues to happen. Publishers, stop saying that something is feminist just to get people to read it, because it's not. And then people are mad, right? Like, I don't know. Just let a book be a book. It doesn't have to be, oh, this feminist icon, if it's really not, you know? Because it's misleading, and I just hate that. I don't know. I think that's like, it's like a dumb complaint. Like, I know that they're just gonna keep doing it because it's marketing, and oh, I'm the sucker because I'm reading it, but like, it just annoys me. Oh, I read The Honey Witch by Sydney J. Shields. That's the second to last book that I read last month. I have very, very, very middling feelings about it. Because on one hand, akin to what I was just saying, this book has excellent feminism. And like representation, and just like the conversations surrounding that kind of stuff like are really good. One of my favorite moments in the whole book is the main character, who's the Honey Witch. After she goes to like be the Honey Witch with her grandma, a girl, I know I'm like jumping ahead, I haven't even told you what it's about, but I just have to say this, like a girl comes and she just wants like the honey lipstick that the grandma makes, because she's trying to like impress this dude, because like she has this like big crush on this guy and wants to like get married and settle down and everything. And after she leaves, the main character, I forget what her name is now, but she is like trying to like make fun of this girl and be like, oh, she's so insufferable, like, oh, my lipstick, oh, my boyfriend. And the grandma's like, why is that funny? And it was such a like a good moment. And she's just like, why is that funny? Why is she not allowed to choose something different? Like, just because she's choosing something different from what you're choosing doesn't mean that she's lesser than you in any way, right? And I thought that was amazing. Anyway, this book actually is about a girl who's in this like kind of upper class. It's kind of like Regency era feeling, but like not really. Like the author did not really go for it the way she could have. But she's in this kind of upper class family. She doesn't fit in, and she finds out why when her grandma comes and is like, you're a honey witch, and if you like accept this magic, you're gonna come like take over my lands and stuff, because I'm sick. Okay, she accepts. She becomes a honey witch. She goes. She finds out, this is where it's like, it's just kind of dumb. She finds out that the opposite of honey, the opposite of a honey witch is ash, an ash witch. And I'm just like, girl, how? And she tries to like explain how, and I just think it's a bit silly, right? And they didn't have to be like polar opposites, but whatever. But and this ash witch is like trying to like come for their lands and like destroy them, and like she wants to like harm her and everything. We don't see that character until literally the very end, which was part of my beef. It's like we have this like looming villain, but they're just like going about their business, like not taking into account this villain like at all. And that was like really dumb to me, because I'm like, oh, it's such a threat, but like you like leave to like go to a wedding, like you leave the lands and like go to the wedding, and you're just like, my little shields will like do the work for me, and like you come back and it's like not like I think it just like it really just didn't even need a villain at that point, because really the majority of this book is the romance. She reconnects with this kid from her childhood, this guy, and then he brings along this like young woman who he's really close to. It's like his adopted sister, and the adopted sister and the main character like fall in love. I'm gonna be honest, I just found their love really cringy. I was not super into it. I saw people like fangirling about like the tattoo scene and stuff, and I just personally, I was like cringing the whole time. And in addition to that, please, I literally beg, I will edit the books. I will edit the books for this sole reason alone. I am so sick of reading books where the author uses like one word or phrase like 50 times in the book. It literally, it grinds my gears so much. It makes me so mad. Literally, like, you would die if you took a shot every time this author was like, oh, the impossible girl. Oh, my impossible girl. Oh, I love my, oh, she's just an impossible girl. Literally at the end, like at the end too, there's like this like climactic, like, we're in love moment. Like, oh, I found love with my impossible girl. And I'm like, ew, please, it's cringy the first time. The first time it's cringe. So please, like, let it be that one time. I can't handle it. I did not like that. But whatever, I don't know. The vibes were good. It's I don't know. I felt really middling about it. I think I gave it 3 stars. The vibes were good. If you're into that, like, you know, beautiful, gardeny, fairy, witchy, light fantasy kind of book, and like if you like romance, maybe you'll like it. For me, it was not. I did not like it. But ending on a high note, my last book that I have to talk about was The Invocations by Crystal Sutherland. Slay. It was a slay from me. A slay from me. It was so good. It's a witch book, actually, ironically, but very much more like dark academia feeling. And it's about these 3 different girls dealing with different things that kind of have to team up when there's like a witch serial killer on the loose. I really love Crystal Sutherland's other book, like House of Hollow. I thought that was really good. I think I liked this one even more. So this is also, wow, I had a good reading month last month. I can't believe I read all those books that I loved so much just last month. But yeah, I really like this book. I read it really fast. And I'd recommend like both of her books. Like she's amazing. I totally forgot until this very singular moment that I wanted to talk about, I DNF'd 3 books. 3 books I DNF'd, and I want to highlight those too, because I honestly haven't DNF'd a lot this year, and then I felt like I was doing it a lot last month, and all for very particular reasons. So I want to talk about those really quickly. I DNF'd Chris Bajalian's new book. I don't know how to say his last name, and I'm just taking it out of my brain right now. The Princess of Las Vegas. This was supposed to be like historical fiction thrillery kind of, and it's about a Princess Diana impersonator that works like in Las Vegas. It was so boring and stupid. Oh my gosh, I listened to like 2 hours of the audiobook and I was like, this is the most boring thing I've ever read in my whole life. I know I just was saying that about The Warm Hands of Ghosts, but like actually, like I couldn't even do it. It was just like people talking, and then when I found out like what it was actually supposed to be about, because I literally went and I read the synopsis, because I was like, is this something I actually want to keep reading? I read the synopsis and it was like 2 sisters, one is a Diana impersonator, and they get involved with a cryptocurrency mob, sort of. And I was like, that is so stupid. I'm not wasting 12 hours of my life on that, or really, I mean, I listened on double speed, so like 6, but like I'm not wasting my time. So I skipped that. Thank goodness. I'm glad that I did, honestly. The second book that I DNF'd is a little bit different because I do think that I will return to it at a different time. Definitely not the audiobook though. Just the format is not gonna work. Oh, it's called A Letter to the Luminous Deep. I was looking up letters too. It's by Sylvie Cathrall. I've seen people comparing this to like Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, which I like. It's not like my favorite, but I do like it. And I was very much in the mood for like cozy fantasy. So like the Honey Witch and everything, you know? So I tried it. I was listening to it. It was not a slay. It was not hitting. Okay. It is entirely told through letters. Let me tell you, when I realized that, when the letter part just kept going on and on and on, I was like, we're really, like, we're doing this. Like, this is it. Like, that's what we're doing. We're doing that. It's the whole thing. too much for me. Too much for me, especially considering that these people talk like, I was so enlivened to receive your post in the mail, and I regret so much that I have not responded post haste, and that you have awaited my letter for much longer than I would have preferred. Oh, it is no problem at all. Oh, that's too modern of speak, actually. Oh, please do not fret over the length of time in which I didn't receive your letter. I have actually been very consumed by my studies. Like, literally, that's the whole thing. That is literally, like, and I was like, that would be okay if it was, like, just some, like, letters every once in a while. But, like, for the whole book, I can't. I'm so sorry. I could not. I was like, I will return to this at a different time, and I'm not gonna listen to it. Like, if anything, I'm gonna read it. The other thing is, apparently, this is a series, and everybody that I was seeing in the reviews was saying, like, literally nothing important or pertinent happens in this book whatsoever. And I just also, not the vibe right now. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to read a long-ass book that's just people's letters just for, like, nothing to happen. Like, no thank you. No thank you. So that was my other DNF. And then this one's so funny. I have a screenshot for you, okay, of a quote. This was The Garden Girls by Jessica R. Patch. It's basically a floral serial killer. And it's like the FBI team that is like going to figure things out, which I thought was gonna be really cool. I literally could not get like even a couple chapters into this book, but it's because of the writing. She literally would be like the one like bro guy would be like talking to the other bro guy, and she'd be like, bro doesn't even do this, and like, blah, blah, blah. And I literally couldn't stand it. It was so like embarrassing to me to think of this like millennial woman like trying to write these guys that are supposed to be in like their 30s and stuff. Like they're like FBI agents. Like why are they talking like 14-year-olds? Like I have a quote. It's screenshotted somewhere in my phone. Hold on, I gotta find it. Okay. These are the two bro guys like interacting with each other. We could go back to Miami. That was a trip. Bruh, Ty said, and pounded his heart with his fist. Nothing but love for that weekend. You get the list yet? Owen asked, sipping his coffee. He'd already cleaned up and shaved. Ty noticed the new purple tie. Dude loved purple. What? Are you serious? This is a published author. I was losing my mind. Literally in that moment, I was like, goodbye. I screenshotted that, exited, returned the book, and I was like, nope, no thank you. No thank you. -1,000 for vibe, okay? Second of all, damn it. Okay, I gotta be done. There's no second of all, okay? No second of all. I'm moving on. I'm wrapping up. This has been a lot. Yeah, my camera's gonna die. So I do have to wrap this up actually quite quickly. Anyway, thank you for being here for this journey. I feel like we went from a life update to some books, to me getting mad, to some more books, to some whatever. We've been, I feel like, lots of ups and downs in this video. I appreciate you if you've been here for this long. I don't plan on taking any more breaks. I am considering going down to just doing one video a month, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm gonna have a new workload just with school and everything, so I'm just gonna kind of have to feel it out. But, thank you for being here. I will see you pretty soon with my first rant review. I don't know, man. Like, subscribe, and share, and whatever. I don't know, any of that stuff you want to do. That's cool with me. But really, more so than anything, please let me know what you think about any of these things. If you have read any of these things, I would love to hear what you think, even if you disagree, even if you whatever. I always want to hear it because really I'm just here to find some community and find people who like to read the things that I like to read and like to read the way that I like to read. So, yeah, love ya. See ya next time. Bye.